EMA International significa 14 merceologie e 5 saloni specializzati, uno dei quali è
EMA International means 14 different types of products and 5 specialized salons. We're talking about gardening and gardening machines. Renato Cifarelli, President of Comagarden. How are things going? Very well, very well. I would say very well, really, because our industry is one of the driving industries, even if sometimes we tend to forget about us and our importance. We have a dedicated or rather 2 dedicated pavilions, and this has been so for a number of EMA editions where the main companies are represented. Market figures are very good, so we breathe very good air. In the past years we had very interesting trends, very positive ones, and then there was some halt, but in the last few months I would say you're doing well, right? Well, gardening did very well last year already. You know, last year, probably because of the lockdown, during which many people stayed at home and sort of rediscovered the joy of taking care of their own gardens, because we all had more time. Simply think of the people who, you know, have some time to travel, to go to their offices. Maybe they drive 40 minutes, while during the lockdown they worked from home, and if they were lucky they had a garden, so they took care of their garden a bit more than before. So in 2020, well, 2020 was very positive for our industry, also compared to 2019, except for a stoppage corresponding to the distribution network not working. We have a very positive year behind us, and also 2021 is proving to be good. Before talking about the incentives, what about the driving systems for gardening machines? Because you are moving to electric power, right? Well, the gardening industry is perhaps one of those that started first. We have used electric motors for many years already because, contrary to agriculture and farming, you can do gardening also with a cord, with an electric cord. So, you know, it's nothing new for us. The electric drive is nothing new for us. In all very small gardens, and I'm thinking of the classical, garden in American homes. I mean, for all small size gardens in semi-detached houses, etc. Well, we've always been able to take care of those gardens with electrically driven machines, so it's nothing new for us. Now the batteries have very exciting performance, so to say. Concerning the drive and supply system, we have battery machines. This is especially for the hobbyists market, and also for some sectors, professional applications, for urban applications. For some professional machines, we're still far from having batteries that last long enough, but very fast steps are being made also in this sector, thanks to the automotive world. And basically, we take the automotive industry as a reference industry for us. So within a few years, I would say that also professional machines in some sectors will have batteries with great performances. You know, since I'm the president of Comagarden, I have a preview of the data. And if you look at the data of our market, we see that as far as the battery-driven segments are concerned, in January, September 2021 over 2020, some products are recording plus 60%, so major growth. The numbers are not very high yet, and much depends on the type of product, but the growth is a major one. So we have products that have experienced a 50 or 60% growth. Chainsaws plus 22%. This is the minimum level, but chainsaws are not used very much at the moment. They are delivering now the chainsaws for use in fall, in autumn. So the growth figures are really very, very interesting. All our companies pay increasing attention to an overall balance. This doesn't mean drive systems only, the fact of having battery-driven machines, but also recycling, greater attention to the materials that we use and to the overall impact of our products within the supply chain, etc. So I would say, if you like green, you have to be environmentally friendly, of course. Sure, a lot has been said for incentives concerning agricultural machines. What about gardening? It's more difficult to have incentives for gardening machines. As far as agricultural machines are concerned, they have a certain value. They're used by professionals. Don't forget that apart from the gardening professionals, the machines are not that expensive. As a general rule, the machines are used by hobbyists mainly. So at the present time, our market is not receiving lots of incentives, contrary to the agricultural machinery market. Actually, it was discovered that having more technologically advanced machines is useful. It is also in the gardening industry, but we're talking about different types of machines. What is missing, perhaps, is a greater capacity on the part of the municipalities and those dealing with green areas to really push towards using more modern machines. There's a tendency towards saving in public tenders, for example. And if you aim at saving money only, what you end up having is low-cost products, also for the maintenance of green areas. At the press conference when opening EMA this year, President Malavoldi showed us impressive figures. There's a lack of raw materials, and also prices have skyrocketed. We might run the risk of stopping production as well. Well, some companies had to stop their production. If we consider the supply chain, well, it has blown, so to say. The global shipping costs index has increased by 292%, which means 3 times as much. What you used to pay for transport, for example, 1,000 euros, is now 3,000. And also there are a lot of ports that are still blocked, a lot of places that are still blocked. They cannot work. I would say that transportation costs already have a major impact. In addition to this, raw materials have increased in price as well as energy. This will have a greater impact in the long run. Well, when we think of raw materials, we might think that we can go back to normalcy or to lower prices at least. But as for energy, because of the EU choices and all the green discourse, I would say it's hard for energy prices to go back to the old levels, and we know that to produce raw materials we need energy. Companies are suffering a bit with all increased prices because cost increases were so high. Many companies are trying to understand what's going to happen. For sure, a cost increase such as the one we are witnessing at the moment can be borne by the companies for a limited period of time. But for the companies to survive, the situation has to be redressed. Don't forget that also to move to battery-operated vehicles, environmentally friendly vehicles, etc., you have to invest. Companies can invest if they have the money to do so. Now, a question as a user. What about distribution? Well, we were talking about brick or click. How are you selling at the moment? Well, that's a very good question, especially for the future. Talking to my colleagues, I've gathered something, and I can also tell you what my opinion is. Concerning battery-operated hobbyist machines, there will be a considerable increase in online sales. We'll see whether marketplaces will develop more or whether the companies will become involved in these sales themselves. Concerning the brick-and-mortar sales, there's a bit of a mix. I always tell my resellers that complain about online sales that they should apply the internet prices, because what users have not yet understood very well is that if one wants a service, then service should be paid for. I usually tell my resellers that you have to apply the internet price and the brick-and-mortar price. The internet price is, I want that machine. Then you give me your credit card, I take a box, a crate, and give it to you. And if the user asks, so what about this, what about that, I would say, go and find it out on the internet. If you want a retail price, then I'll open the box, I'll assemble the piece for you, I'll put in some fuel and show how to operate the machine. We can't think of a retailer providing this type of service free of charge, because all this has a cost. The retailer has to be trained, has to invest his or her own time and know what he or she is doing. At the present time, I would say there's a bit of confusion, because the customer comes in the store and says the internet price is this one. I always tell the retailers, the resellers, that if they provide a service like the internet service, they can more or less apply the same price that they find on the internet, because they simply have to take a box and ship it after receiving money from the customers. Instead, often in the stores they would say, I'll come by and pay you, or I want to pay in installments, etc. In our studio, we have some colleagues, yet respecting the regulations against COVID. If you have any questions for Renato Cifarelli, the President of Comagarden, please ask. Andrea, you were talking about incentives. The green bonus was renewed also for 2021. Do you think this can also be a sort of tax incentive for gardening machines? Now, in the two pavilions for gardening machines, what are the truly innovative products? I've seen very few, in fact. As for your first question on the bonus, probably tax deductions would be the best system. As the President of Comagarden, I would say, please give us the bonuses. But as an Italian citizen, I also say we can't have a bonus for everything. Well, I would assume that bonuses should be granted to professionals when they have to move to more environmentally friendly machines, battery-operated machines. So at that point, being able to obtain tax deductions could be an incentive for professionals to move to battery-operated machines. Your second question is a very good one. But I'm the president of Comagarden, and I make machines as well. I have little time to go around because I'm also on a booth at the fair when I'm not having interviews. So your question is very relevant, but I haven't had time to go around and see what's new. Any other questions? Andrea, are you happy with the answer?
My name is Katrina Onoside from the German magazine Motorist.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've got three little questions. The first one refers to what you said about the confusion in the market regarding the online sales. It's a big topic in Germany with the dealers, because it's not only the part of service, but it's and the prices. It's also the availability of products, because great producers ship to the online stores and the retailer doesn't get any products. Second question is...
First.
È un problema secondo me di supply chain.
I think it's a supply chain issue. What is happening at the moment is that there are thousands of dealers who have their own stock, while the large marketplace sellers have just one stock. So at equal volumes of sale between one marketplace seller and 500 sellers, the online one has an optimized stock. For example, they may sell 1,000 devices in 5 versions. Having 5 versions of that same device means going out of stock for the dealers. They have to reorder, etc. If you have a centralized stock, if you have a centralized store, your stock is such that you can deal with the market peaks. So to say, you have optimization of your stock, and that's one of the reasons why the online distribution is more efficient than small retailers. Have I answered your question?
Yes, my second question refers to the battery market. In Germany, we see the development into platforms. it's very eager if you start a battery universe as a producer at your own, because there are already a lot of products in the market, and a lot of customers already decided for one battery type, and then they collect products around this battery. So it's a strategic thing for producers to invest in partnerships with other producers. Is it a theme in Italy too?
Allora, con me sfonda una porta aperta, perché era uno dei...
Well, you're actually touching a point which is particularly dear to me. I would have liked to accomplish this as the president of Comagarden. In other words, define battery standards, so as to create a platform in Italy, and everyone could actually refer to that battery platform. The marketing departments of companies hate this, because they say, if we all have the same battery, we won't sell batteries anymore. The truth is that I always make a comparison and say that not having common batteries is as if we had a car called Pluto and had to go to fuel stations selling Pluto only. The battery will become a commodity, I think. Unfortunately, or luckily so, depending on the views. As you certainly know, there are consortia developing standard batteries for some uses, and the idea, especially for big companies, is to make exclusive batteries, but this clashes against the fact that if you go to Amazon.com, without advertising anyone, but I don't need Amazon needs my advertising, for example, electrically operated tools, you find batteries that are standard and made in China. Then, they may say, I cannot guarantee safety, or I cannot give you any warranty if you don't mount my battery. But, I'm an amateur photographer. I usually buy the original camera batteries, but I would find lots of non-original batteries that would serve the same purpose. The European Union is now observing this, and especially for the hobbyist sector, they are thinking of making universal batteries and say the battery has to be standard, universal, and all-purpose. Last question, please.
It's an easy question. How important is the German market for you, for your producers?
Okay. Il mercato tedesco è uno
Well,
dei mercati chiave in
the
Europa.
German market is a key market in Europe. Well, it very much
Per le aziende
depends.
italiane dipende molto.
We know that
Noi sappiamo che ci sono
there are
delle
Italian
aziende
producers
italiane
of niche
che producono
products that are
prodotti
highly
di
successful in
nicchia,
Germany.
grandissimo successo in
We shouldn't forget that in farming as well, Italy is specialized in customized, personalized machines. Fighting against some German local producers as far as some product lines are concerned is a bit challenging, I would say. Also because, and I'm saying this as a producer, as a general rule, the Germans are not that open vis-à-vis the foreign producers. Any other questions or comments?
Bene.
Are you happy, Andrea? Do you have another question? Please, a quick
Andrea,
one.
vuoi ancora chiedere qualcosa?
Andrea?
Dai, velocemente.
We have to sanitize the microphones because we have to comply with very strict regulations. Concerning the standard batteries, especially for hobbyist devices, is there something? There is already something which is called Power for Aliens. It's a standard of Bosch and Gardena, so big giants, all from Germany, and they have implemented this solution. From a conceptual standpoint, as your colleague said before, it is right. What actually dominates is the market. If the customer and the market say, let's buy machines on the basis of the battery, many companies at the present time start or try to lock in the consumers and say, you have bought a bush cutting machine with a certain type of battery, and you have to continue using it. Especially for the hobbyist market, the battery is worth 60-70% of the product, except for very complex products. And many companies implement this lock-in, this battery lock-in. My personal idea is that once we have compatible batteries suitable for different tools, the users will start saying, why should I take or buy a machine by X and buy their batteries only? Then I'll buy a machine that has standard batteries, so that I can buy batteries from any other supplier. At that point, the market will decide, and everyone will be forced to using semi-standard batteries. Then, it's also being discussed at European Union level. Don't forget that there is a downstream side to this. We talk about batteries, but batteries have to be produced and disposed of or recycled later. Tesla, just to mention a frontline company, they take the used batteries and they make the home accumulators through which you recharge the cars at night. During the day you charge the accumulator and at night you charge the car. Well, they have already implemented something like this, but once we use batteries, if you think of the annual sales of gardening machines in Europe, if you think that they will all be battery operated, we will have dozens of millions of batteries to dispose of every year. If we use standard batteries, there will be a standard disposal system. But if we have different batteries, we can't adopt standard disposal procedures. That's why the European Union is moving in this direction. They will try and standardize as much as they can in view of the disposal process. Thank you very much, Andrea. We still have some seconds left. What are your expectations from EMA? Well, first of all, we have eventually seen our sales network in person, our salespeople in person. I like computers very much, but, online calls are not the same as meeting people in person. I've always said that this was going to be the recovery fair. We are in a sparkling market, I would say. It's doing very well. The biggest problem this year is that the product is not available on the market. There's a lack of product on the market, so everybody should be happy except for those that don't have the machines to sell in their stock. But in our industry, we got used to a shorter supply chain, and one would order the machine when it was sold already. Having said this, what we expect is that EIMA is once again confirmed as one of the most important fairs and trade shows in Europe. It is equally important both for agricultural machines and gardening machines. We have dozens, thousands of people visiting the gardening pavilions as well. So we expect visitors to come. I cannot tell you that the visitors will be as many as in 2018, but we expect good numbers. As a general rule, most fairs, even less important than EIMA, had quite a large number of visitors. The fact that we are here is due to the idea that we believe EIMA is one of the best showcases of Italy towards the world. Thanks to Renato Cifarelli, the President of Comagarden. Thanks for the discussions, and we'll continue with other interviews from EIMA Web TV. Thank you.
Grazie mille.